So, firstly, thank you for volunteering.
No worries, thank you for inviting me.
So I want to tell you a little bit of the background of TRE. So, it was created by, or discovered in a way, by a man called David Bocelli. And he was working in war zones all around the world. And so often he'd be in situations where there were bombs going off and he'd be in a bomb shelter. And so what do you think happens? Like if you were in a bomb shelter and you heard a bomb going off, what do you think you would do? What would your body movement be?
It would be jerky.
Kind of,
Yeah.
Yep, that's what he noticed. So he noticed that, and he also noticed that children, especially after a bomb would go off, would tremor, would like shake a bit, but not necessarily the adults. And he was curious about that. He was also very familiar, there's a guy called Peter Levine, and he's written a book called Waking the Tiger, and it's all about people's responses to trauma. And in that, Peter Levine also mentioned about tremoring or trembling and needing to like complete a cycle that's interrupted. So he had those bits of information. And he was also really interested in the body and anatomy. And so when you do that movement, it's actually like the psoas muscle. So the psoas muscle is this big muscle that connects your legs to your spine. And so it gets contracted. And so he's just really interested in all of those things. And then the other thing, and Peter Levine kind of mentions this as well in the book, is that animals, when they're traumatized or something really bad happens to them, will also tremor afterwards. So he saw that it's a very natural mammalian response, and yet as adults we don't do it.
Adult humans.
Adult humans, exactly. We don't do it. And he was just like, well, why is that? And he recognises because although it's like a natural response, our cortex, our like older part, or the newer part of our brain, overrides the older part and goes, oh, I don't want to tremor, I don't want to tremor, that looks weird, or that looks weak, or and so we stop ourselves. So that was the kind of the structure or the framework that he discovered. And so he was like, well, I wonder what could I do to help people activate this tremoring response? And so he created these series of exercises to do, that when you do them, it just activates something that's a very, very natural part of us. And so after doing the exercises, people will tend to tremor. And when people first do it, it's a bit like, ooh, this is a bit weird, like what's my body doing? But when you do it more and more, you recognise it's a really natural body response. And following doing it, people feel more relaxed, they sleep better. Sometimes pains in the body can start just not necessarily disappearing, but getting better in some way. And so that's a little bit of the background. Any thoughts, any questions?
No. I'm just wondering where we're going to do it.
Oh, we'll figure out.
We'll figure it out, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll
Great.
figure that out.
Yeah.
So do you have any medical conditions that I need to know about?
No, I don't think so.
So no history of like epilepsy, high blood pressure?
No.
No recent kind of breaks, injuries?
No. I've got slight shoulder kind of pains, but this may assist that maybe.
Okay, yeah, can do. And any traumas that you're aware of in your past?
Not obvious. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. And so, okay, we could give it a go, see what happens.
Oh, yes, no
yeah.
traumas. Yes, I would. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Like.
Well, we didn't call it trauma. I don't know really call it trauma. I found a housemate hanging when I was 21, 22.
That sounds pretty traumatic.
Yeah, it was traumatic. Yeah.
Did you ever have any kind of counselling?
I've tried lots of different things. things.
Oh,
Not
okay.
necessarily particularly on that at all.
Okay.
Other things in general as well. But it's been something that I've looked at a little bit, but it's not really necessarily been particularly focused on it
Okay.
anyway. Particularly.
Okay. So one of the other things that's really great about TRE is that, because I do act as a regular talk therapist, but what I love about TRE is that you don't need to talk. You don't need to go to any story. You don't need to engage like the cognitive mind. And so it just is like sheer body wisdom. And that in itself is just like, it's really nice because there's a purity. Because, like, you know, our minds can be so tricky, and so when you start telling a story, all these other things get involved. Whereas with this,
Absolutely.
no story, it's just the body.
The story can be part of the problem as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful.
Okay.
Fab.
So